Hello and welcome to Living Social on CYC TV, and I am Father Antonius. The perfect match. There used to be a game show on television where people would come to try and find their perfect partner, the ideal person with whom they could spend the rest of their lives. Does such a thing exist? How do you go about finding them? No doubt if you are a young Coptic person, you have been accosted by lots of lovely, sweet little old ladies at a wedding and told, "Oh, Balik, oh, Balik." They're wishing that you too will get married soon, if you're not married already. And sometimes young people get a little bit frustrated with this, and they say, "Please don't say that to me anymore. I know that I want to get married one day. Please don't put the pressure on me anymore. Stay off." People do feel pressure. People feel that this is such a big decision in life to find the right person to marry, and therefore they want to know how to go about doing it the right way. Is there some surefire way of making sure 100% that you get married to the right person? That's what we're going to be talking about today, and I'm going to do it in two parts. In the first part, I'm going to talk about compatibility, how to go about deciding whether someone is a good match for you or not. But in the second part, I would like to come back and talk about the whole idea of the perfect match, and whether that may not just be a kind of a fairy tale that doesn't really apply in real life. And to begin and end, I would like to emphasize that in marriage, as in everything else in our lives, we as Christians surrender our lives into the hands of God, trusting in the love and the grace of God. So as you go through this adventure of finding your marriage partner and marrying them and having children and growing old together, please do remember that at every step we need to have Christ in our lives and in our hearts and in our relationships. We need our relationships to be Christ-like relationships. And we need to remember that God loves us, and even when things get hard, even when things are tough, He doesn't stop loving us, but He is there to help us to grow and to develop through those difficult times. Compatibility. How can you work out whether someone is suitable for you or not? There are bad ways of doing it. Feelings are notoriously bad, because feelings are emotions that are not really under your rational control. They kind of have a life of their own, and sometimes, unfortunately, feelings have a short life of their own. So the person to whom I feel incredibly emotionally attracted today to may be someone who in 10 years I've lost that feeling for. And if our relationship was built only on that kind of romantic attraction, then when that romantic attraction dies down, what's going to be left? Same goes with physical attraction. What's going to be left when you get old and wrinkled, when your wife's hair starts falling out and your husband's teeth start falling out? What will keep you together? There needs to be something much more solid, something much more substantial. And I usually encourage young couples to spend a lot of time controlling their feelings at the beginning of their courtship, but gradually trying to understand the other person as a human being, and probably also coming to understand myself as a human being a little bit better, and working out whether those two human beings fit together. And that happens on a number of different levels. We've spoken about physical and emotional, but there's also intellectual. Do you care about the same things? Do you think about the same things? Are you curious about the same things in life? Do you want to travel, or do you want to stay home? There are social issues like, are you an introvert or an extrovert? Are you the kind of person who's the life of the party, and maybe your partner is the wallflower who just sits at the side and feels really shy and doesn't want to talk to anyone? Now, you see that there are differences there between individuals, and there will always be differences. It would be very boring to marry someone who is an identical copy of yourself. That would be a really boring life. So variety is actually, as the saying goes, the spice of life. The trick is to have the right attitude to variety. If you can see the value and the good in your partner's differences, if you can take that as an opportunity to see the world through fresh eyes, to have whole worlds of experience and attitude opened up, and you enjoy that, then you'll do pretty well. But you also need to make sure that the differences aren't so far apart that you will never be able to respect or appreciate the difference. So I've come across couples, for example, where one partner loved to spend money. Life is to be lived. Why save it? God gave me today. He gave me this gift of the money. I should make the most of it and have fun and enjoy my life. And the other partner was responsible and diligent and felt you have to save the money so that you can do good things in the long term. Now, if they could appreciate each other, then they would probably end up meeting in the middle. If they can't appreciate each other, if they are totally and utterly convinced of the rightness of their own approach, then that spells trouble for that relationship, because that will mean they will disagree. And if it's something that is important to both of them, then the disagreements will be quite serious. That is a warning sign, an alarm bell ringing to say maybe these two don't belong together. Now, having done everything you can to try and find a compatible partner, having found someone who you believe is reasonably compatible, what about this idea of the perfect match, the ideal person, the one? Everybody is looking for that one person to whom I am meant to get married. Is this how reality works? The reality of life is that nobody really finds a perfect partner. And that's just the world in which we live. Yes, you can find someone with whom you have a lot of good connections, someone who is compatible with you in a lot of ways, and probably even in very important ways. But there will still always be something about which you disagree, something in which you are not compatible, something in which ideally you would wish it wasn't the case in the relationship. That will always be the case. And that's because of our human nature. But once again, as Christians, we look at that as an opportunity, because in fact, the purpose of marriage is not for me to get everything that I want. One of the really important purposes of marriage is for me to learn how to surrender, how to sacrifice, how to put my ego aside and to think of the other person. Now think about it. If you married that perfect one, you would never need to sacrifice. You would never need to forgive. You would never need to surrender. When would you practice true agape Christian love? You would never have the opportunity to do that. It is those differences, those problems, those difficulties that give us the opportunity to learn what love, agape, divine love, really, really means. And by doing that, by practicing that love, that is how we as individuals change and grow and mature as Christians. That is how we become more Christ-like. And of course, when you have children, then you really have to be selfless and you really have to surrender and sacrifice. And that takes you even further. So don't think that you have to wait for the perfect one. There are probably quite a few people out there with whom you could have a very happy, fulfilling, holy, successful marriage. Your job is to find one of those people. Some people, that pool is very small because their own personality makes them compatible with only a few people. There may only be a dozen people in the whole world with whom they could get married. There are other people who could have a happy, successful marriage with any one of 100,000 different people. They're lucky. It's much easier for them to find the right partner. It depends on the kind of person that you are and the personality that God blessed you with. But remember, as I said, at the beginning and the end of all of this whole adventure of getting married is the importance of keeping God involved in your thoughts and your feelings and in your relationships as well. For He loves you and He cares for you and He wants what is good for you. God bless, and I won't say Balak or Balak, and I'll see you next time.